This video is not about running. It's about Boston and my time here in Boston. But it's not really about Boston either. It's about saying thank you. But first, a story. An Irishman goes into a bar. Nothing new there then. Goes into a bar, he's in Ireland. And he sees two guys up at the bar and they're sitting, looking very happy, two Americans in their Boston Marathon finisher t-shirts. And they're looking pleased with themselves. And there's an old joke about, how do you know someone's run a marathon? Well, they'll tell you. So he gets chatting and the two guys start telling him all about their Boston Marathon and Hopkinton and the way down, the way people do. The run up the Newton Hills, the heartbreak on the hill. And I tell him this and he says, sure, I ran it myself, back in the day. And they say, oh gosh. And say, and how did you get on? He says, sure. I won it. And he did. Neil Cusack won, from Limerick in Ireland, won the Boston Marathon 50 years ago this year. And he was the starter, this year's Boston Marathon, the official starter. And he looked in fabulous shape for a man of, I think, 72. He looked in fabulous shape. But I first came after Neil had done, and I won't be losing my run myself on the Boston Marathon. But anyway, I first came in 1982. I'd come to Lancaster, Pennsylvania to work in Union Camp Corp making fiberboard boxes. My dad was working for Guinness in Nigeria, and they used these fiberboard boxes for shipping beer in and out to the brewery. And Bob Quinn was the manager of the plant in Pennsylvania. He was a good friend of my dad's. Bob was an Irish American. They got on. They were good buddies. And it was arranged that I would do my J1 in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And so I went to stay with Bob and Mary Quinn. The first people I need to thank in this video was Bob. I went to stay with Bob and Mary. And I was going to stay there for a couple of days and then find a place. But Bob didn't have any kids. Mary had a grown-up son, I think Frank, from her previous marriage. Her first husband had died young. Bob was his best friend. They traveled everywhere together always. They always went on holiday, the three of them. And anyway, when Mary's first husband passed, Bob married Mary. And they didn't have any kids. And they lived in this beautiful American dream house in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, 506 Wilson Drive. It was lovely. And I went to stay for a couple of days. But they seemed to like me and I liked them. Mary's hobby was cooking. My hobby was eating. It was great. And I worked in a plant during the day and later in the night shift. I loved it. And I lived in the American dream. And the contrast was my love of the film Blue Velvet and Bruce Springsteen's album Nebraska, which was recorded in February 2nd, I think, that year. But anyway, it was great. And during that summer, Bob and Mary had some friends come over who were, I think, called Wally and Eileen Dietrich. And Mary said, now, Brian, when they come, we're going to have dinner. Now, you say nothing. She knew me well. and Mary said, you say nothing. What will happen is they're going to say, hey, how are architecture studies? And all, you're going to tell them all that sort of stuff. And then I'm going to say, you're traveling up the East Coast and you're flying out of Boston, out of Logan. And they're going to say, you must stay with Eileen. And sure enough, at the dinner, I keep stum. And that's exactly what happened. Oh yeah, and Barry is flying out of Logan. Logan, you must stay with Eileen. So I find myself coming into Boston with a big heavy suitcase. And it was in the days when I laugh now, I've been designing things for a long time. But the suitcase has been around for thousands of years and I don't know how long the wheel has been around, but it took till certainly after 1982 before people stuck wheels on suitcases. So I was lumbering this thing. And I went down to 60 State Street. I always remember it, and up to meet Eileen. Beautiful panoramic windows and overlooking the bay and Logan. And it was just wonderful. And anyway, we went down to her apartment, which is nearby, just across from where the big dig happened, just across and down one of the wharves. Beautiful apartment and in beautiful location. And we go in and I see another suitcase. And I'm thinking, oh, there's another suitcase. And she says, oh, I'm going to Atlanta today. I think Skip or Chip. I think, anyway, either way, her boyfriend's coming there going away for the weekend. And she says, you can just sleep in either bedroom. I usually sleep in that one, but you can choose either one. There's some beer in the fridge. You can pop the keys in the mail or drop them in the office and have a great trip. And she goes and leaves me this wonderful apartment. Were a lot of thanks. And it was just amazing that people would trust you. And such a, anyway, they did. She did. And I had a wonderful time. And then came back in the 90s, I think the early 90s. I was working in an architect's office in the UK, Shepherd Robson, in London, and we were designing something for the Wirral Peninsula opposite Liverpool. And it was a joint venture with an American firm of architects called Benjamin Thompson Associates, BTA, and they designed the redesign of Faneuil Hall here in Boston. And they did South Street Seaport in, I think, New York, and then the Inner Harbor in Baltimore. And so we were coming over to look at those and do some work. And we went to Cambridge, Massachusetts, on the edge of Boston to do a couple of days' work. I never saw anything other than the inside of we worked pretty hard, long hours, and turned out that the partner liked to work because he was very friendly. He was great to me. He's a great, really great guy to me. I won't name her because somebody said to me, "Oh, you know, we had a staff meeting the other day and people were just talking about this stuff, and this partner said, "Oh yeah, my daughter's studying violin," and somebody said, "Oh, who told you?" So it was that kind of, you know, he worked long, hard, but I don't remember much about that. I then came back maybe 20 years ago. It's probably 20 years since I came. I came for a weekend in Boston. Boston is full of Irish people. It's very handy to come for a weekend. It's very easy. You can fly and you'd be here by lunchtime from Dublin and thereabouts and have a whole afternoon, and then Friday, Saturday, catch a red eye home, much as I'm doing in an hour or two. But anyway, I came in and yeah, Boston is full of Irish people. My dad used to say about, he was from Kerry in Ireland, and he used to say about people from Cork, the neighbouring competitive county, that Cork people go to Dublin on the train, and when they get to Dublin, the first thing they do is they throw a stone in the River Liffey, and if it floats, they go home. And I thought the same maybe was true of Irish people in Boston, because, you know, come throw a stone in the River Charles, and it's never going to float, and they ain't going to go home. So it's full of Irish people, and yeah, so I came for a weekend, and it was wonderful. It was great just weekend trip. And I remember I get bad dreams. And a recurring dream I have is where I'm not wearing any trousers in a public place. I've just forgotten to put on my trousers. I get other ones of you know, heights. I always have dreams about that. Airplanes. On one later. And then last night I dreamt someone shot me in the head, which is not very pleasant, let me tell you. Anyway, the recurring one is where I'm not wearing any trousers. And this time I I was in the Marriott and down at the waterfront. And I go down and I in the elevator. This is real. And I get out and it's breezy. I think, you know, it's a bit breezy in the lobby. And then I realize, oh, I'm only I've forgotten to put on my trousers now. Thankfully I was in my boxer shorts. But it was breezy. I quick-tailed it back into the elevator up to the room and pretending nothing was amiss. And I've gone one step worse in a hotel in Dublin, but that's for another day, or maybe a completely different type of channel. Yeah, so I had some very memorable times, but the most memorable time I had in Boston was when it was on my first trip. And I went out to see the John F. Kennedy Library, Presidential Library on the edge town. I think it might be Columbia Point, I'm not sure, but it was designed by Yeo Ming Pei, a Chinese-American architect. And I went out and I was photographing. I had a great day out. It was a beautiful summer day, a bit like today, but obviously warmer because we're now in April. And I was wearing a pair of sneakers, no socks, shorts and t-shirt. And I'm at the suburban rail trying to get back into Boston, and it's one of those stations on the edge of a town. You can see for miles down the tracks. There's nobody there, and I'm sitting on this bench, and then along comes this guy, and he's very large, a very, very big man. Not overweight, just big. But he also happened to look like he was about 12 years old. And he sits down right beside me. And so we're sitting together quietly in this very deserted railway station on the edge of Boston. And then after a while he says, I really like your sneakers. And I go, oh, well, yeah, well, they're Italian. I don't know, they're some sort of brand. And they were nice sneakers. Time passes. And he says, you've got really big feet. And I go, oh, well, UK 12, US 13, you know. wondering where this is going. I'm sitting there, and then he says, would you take off your shoe so I could see your foot? And I say, oh, look, there's a train coming. Look, and he looks up the line and he goes, no, there isn't. And you know there wasn't. You could see for miles. There's nothing coming. So I say, well, but again, I take off the shoe and then it's going to come and I'm going to, I'm sitting there very uneasily. And there's silence. And we're sitting there. And of course, eventually a train comes. These two silent men sitting on the street. And I get on the train and he follows on, obviously. And I sit down near the door. And he sits in the seat behind me. And you know, someone's staring at the back of your head and you can feel it all the way into Boston. I can feel this guy staring at the back of my head. And we get to Boston and I get out. It's at the bottom of the city hall. I get out. And he gets out immediately afterwards. And I see the escalator and I ran up that escalator like Heartbreak Hill had nothing on that one. I was right up there out into the crowd. And it was such a memorable, it was, and so I have had some amazing times in this town. I take nothing for granted. I thank everybody for all of the support I've gotten, the people who watch these videos, and my friend at the train station in Boston. I thank him for memorable experiences. And I ran the marathon, and Bartek, I was thinking of you the whole time. So thanks for your support and best wishes beating this. I know you will be going at it hot and hard, and see you all further down the road. Thank you.